I had something I wanted to come out here and tell y'all tonight. But Doe, he don't want me to say nothing. But I can tell you, friends, because you wouldn't be here if you didn't care about me. Things is moving too fast in my life. Always have. I mean, one day I was this little girl, and the next day I was married, and next day I was having babies, and next day I was out here singing for y'all. Patsy's always saying, little gal, you got to run your own life. But my life's running me, and, where's my brush? Do?
Loretta's getting to be a woman, going on 14.
Dude, sometimes I think you got a washer missing in your brain. I can't play that thing.
Most people can't without they learn how first. You're not too ignorant to learn, are you?
She get me a guitar.
Because I like the way you sing.
I wrote the song, and Dude heard it, and he said that's about the prettiest song as I ever heard. Good as Patsy Cline. I said, oh, ain't nobody sings as good as Patsy.
How many times you been on the opera now?
I've been on 17 straight times.
People want to know who you've been sleeping with that you've been on so many times.
Who's been saying that?
Gals that have been sleeping with everybody and still ain't been on yet.
Woman, if you want to keep that arm, you better get it off my husband.
Who you telling why?
Brand new on the Zero label, Miss Loretta Lynn singing
Honky Tonk Girl.
It's Loretta. It's Loretta Lynn, not Lorraine.
Hello, I'm film historian Tony Maeda.
And I'm Brad Shreve, who's just a guy who likes movies.
We discuss movies and television from Hollywood's golden age. We go behind the scenes and share our opinions, too.
And of course, being the average guy, my opinions are the ones that matter.
As does your self-delusion. Welcome to Going Hollywood.
Hey, Doolittle Lynn, who's that sow walling in your Jeep?
Okay, Brad, let's get this started. Oh, hey, that looks new. Did you move your podcast studio to a different room?
Yeah, thanks for noticing. I moved it to the front of the house so I can get the morning sunlight.
Well, won't the sunlight shine in your eyes in the morning when you're in there?
Well, yeah, but I'm not too ignorant to get up and pull down a window blind.
Yeah, well, I'm not too ignorant to know that you should put a podcast studio in the back of the house where it belongs. Oh, stop that. You sound like a big old bar growling. Every time I say that, it makes me laugh. I don't know why, but it makes me laugh. Well, hey, everybody. How are you? So, I love that beginning we did. For those of you who don't know, that's a little riff on our movie of today that we're talking about, which was kind of Brad's choice, but it's in our best act. It's probably the last one in our best actress series. And what is that film we're going to talk about today, Brad? Tell the people.
It is Coal Miner's Daughter. And, you mentioned about a week or two ago when we were trying to schedule when to record this that it was my choice. And I'm like, I don't remember it being my choice, but I do because I remember you made the list of possibilities. And I'm like, I think you were trying to push me towards another one. And I don't remember what it was. And I'm like, So I chose Coal Miner's Daughter only because I didn't remember anything about it other than I remember I really, really liked Sissy Spacek. So I remembered nothing else about it.
I don't think I would ever intentionally move anybody away from Coal Miner's Daughter. I love this movie so much. I can't. I don't buy that. That's your version, but maybe who knows?
No, you weren't trying to push me away. You were trying to push me towards something else.
Oh, towards something else. Well, that sounds like
yes,
me.
But I don't remember what it was. So you folks, you can't call them up and complain because if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. But I don't remember.
I also want to say that this is this could be interesting. This recording. I wanted to do this film so much. I went on location. I'm on location, listeners. I am in West Virginia because I just really, really wanted to be in the spirit, in the mood of this film. And that's not true, actually. I'm on vacation. But yeah, I'm so close, Brad. You know, there's a holler 2 doors down. Two doors down, we got a holler. It's amazing. The Van Leer coal mine store, country store. I got my script. I'm going to go buy some supplies. It's all within spitting distance here.
Okay, well, I'm going to protect you here, Tony. Listeners, he is in West Virginia. Loretta Lynn is from Kentucky. They wound up settling in Tennessee, but it's all in the Southwest.
No, but here's the point.
Or Southeast.
Coal Miner's Daughter was filmed on location in the Three Corners, where Kentucky and West Virginia, and I think it's Tennessee, meet.
Oh.
So I'm very close. And let me tell you something right now. There are some, I grew up in this area, okay? I mean, I didn't grow up in West Virginia, but I grew up in Pennsylvania. And the mountains, there's nothing like the Appalachian Mountains, the Allegheny Mountains. I mean, when they used to call us ridge runners when I was a kid because of all the hills. Now I know I'm much more cosmopolitan now, but it is very similar to this. I mean, there are hills and there are hollers in this area which are deep, and the people very similar.
And I'm glad you brought up the cosmopolitan part, because you brought up something I'm going to bring up later that I saw in an interview.
All right, cool.
We'll discuss it later. I think it was from Michael Apted,
the director of Coal Miner's Daughter. So yes, we're talking about Coal Miner's Daughter from Universal in 1980, and featuring the Best Actress winner of 1980, Miss Sissy Spacek, as the coal miner's daughter herself, the First Lady of Country Music, Miss Loretta Lynn. And you said, Brad, that you don't remember seeing this, but are you a fan of Loretta Lynn's music before you saw this movie, or are you still, how you feel about that?
Well, you know, my music is very much like my movie preferences. I'm very eclectic. You know, I can watch a Marvel movie and then immediately afterwards watch some great classic, and I can enjoy them both for what they are. I'm very similar when it comes to music. I love rap. It's rap and hip hop are what I'm listening to the most now. I put on opera a lot. I put on jazz a lot. So across the board, but if there's one type of music that I'm least likely to turn on, it is country. Mm-hmm. So I do enjoy some of Loretta's songs, but I would never put on a Loretta Lynn playlist.
Well, all I can say is when you're looking at me, you're looking at country. That's all I got to say. I was never a fan, maybe because I grew up in Western Pennsylvania and I grew up around a lot of it. I was never a fan of country music. I believed all of the cliches, all of the terrible things they said about country music. And then I saw Coal Miner's Daughter. And like many millions of people, it kind of opened my eyes to the world of Loretta Lynn and the world of her music. And I was immediately, my boyfriend and I at the time were obsessed with this. I mean, we still quote Loretti to each other, and some of these songs and some of these lyrics. And then it got me into Patsy Cline, and of course, I always knew Dolly from 9 to 5, but even further into Dolly. And I have such a respect and such an admiration for this music. And it's just damn fun. It's just damn entertaining. And it says a lot. And I think that's what I love about Coal Miner's Daughter. It was intended this way. It is a absolutely non-judgmental, beautiful portrait of this part of the country. You know, this part of the country gets maligned a lot, you know. I think mostly because of the Beverly Hillbillies. I got to tell you, I was thinking about it, you know. People make the jokes, people make the snide remarks, and what's so beautiful about this movie is that it treats that part of the country and that culture with the respect and the gravitas that it deserves, I feel.
And that's where I was going to bring up the interview that I saw with Michael Apted. He was asked in an interview specifically, as a British director, what did you bring to this film that would have been different? They're like, this is Americana. This is an American music. This is an American icon. How were you able to make this film that would have been different? And he said, I didn't even know this world existed, this poor white people living in the mountains. I knew nothing about it, and I have since learned that people in New York and some of the other major cities and the cosmopolitan areas, how they look at these people and how they feel about these people. I didn't have that.
No, it's true.
I just played them for who they are, and I thought that was brilliant.
It is brilliant. And, Sissy Spacek said that was the reason the movie worked. She said because, first of all, Michael Apted was from a British coal mining area, first of all, which is kind of ironic. So he wasn't a stranger to it. But they all thought that he wasn't the first director. But when the first director left because of problems with issues with Loretta Lynn, and they brought on Michael Apted, they thought it was brilliant because he's an outsider. He was less likely to bring the cultural baggage that an American director might. All those preconceived notions of Appalachia. He wasn't into those cliches of white trash and all that bullshit. So I think it was a brilliant choice because that's why the film plays so beautifully and so real without those stupid cliches. There's a real respect for these people and their culture in this movie, and I find it one of the most charming things about this film.
And I'm from the South, or a good part of my life was in the South, and I know these people that are in this film, and I will say that they were portrayed great. They are who they are. They weren't made into. I'm going to say they're stereotypes because there's always aspects of stereotypes that's why stereotypes exist. But they weren't played as stereotypes. They weren't played as clowns. They were who they are. They were very real. I knew these people.
Yes, and the most real and the most nuanced and the most amazing person in this movie is the titular character of the coal miner's daughter of Loretta Lynn, I don't even want to say played by Sissy Spacek. Sissy Spacek becomes Loretta Lynn. She is it's not acting, it's being. It's what the ultimate goal of an actor is. It's not to act something, it's to just be it. And that's what's so amazing about Sissy Spacek. Not for one moment do you not believe she's Loretta Lynn. Not for one moment.
I think the way this was filmed was when it was time for Sissy to do her role, Loretta laid down and went to sleep and channeled into Sissy.
Yes, right? Even when it comes to the singing.
Yes.
Sissy Spacek's own singing, and there's a funny story when we get into the background about it, but even her singing. Now, Sissy Spacek started out as a singer. She wanted to be a singer. And yes, she's from Texas. But there's a world of difference between Texas and Kentucky, and there's a world of difference between Kentucky and the way Loretta Lynn speaks. Sissy Spacek said she realized after being with Loretta Lynn for however many weeks she was studying with Loretta Lynn to become Loretta Lynn, that Loretta Lynn speaks like nobody else she's ever heard of. The way she pauses, the way she breathes, her cadences. And Sissy Spacek you're right, she's channeling Loretta Lynn in this. Even though Loretta Lynn was very much alive, she was channeling all this.
There's a lot of people that aren't from the South who don't realize the very distinct differences between the different regions. Just even within one state, I could tell you what parts of North Carolina different people are from, and then you get South Carolina, and you move throughout the South down to Texas. It's all very different. So yeah, you would think, okay, well, it'd be easy for Sissy Spacek. No, it's not that easy.
No, it's not. And she so immersed, and there was pushback from Universal, from this first director, about Sissy playing Loretta. But a little bit of but we'll get into the background. But do we want to go through the rest of this incredible, incredible cast before we start talking about the background and the film and all the stuff that we do?
Yes, and I'm very excited to talk about Mooney as well. So I'll go through the cast. We've already made it very clear that Sissy Spacek played Loretta Lynn. Tommy Lee Jones, who I have never really thought of as a handsome man, never thought he was an unattractive man, but never thought of as a handsome man until this movie. He looked really good. Yeah. He played Doolittle Lynn, Loretta Lynn's husband.
Do.
And I saw him interview. We'll talk about that as well. Beverly D'Angelo played Patsy Cline. She did a beautiful job, and she sang.
Unbelievable as Patsy Cline.
I was saying that country is not high on my list. Patsy Cline is high on my list, but it's not because Patsy Cline is a country singer. Patsy Cline is an angel.
She's just a brilliant singer. She's one of those
my
performers
God.
which crosses all genres. Patsy Cline
Yes.
does. You know,
Yes.
Loretta's country. Loretta's not pop. Loretta's
No.
not rap. Well, did you ever listen to, real quick aside, Van Leer Rose, the album that Loretta did with Jack White?
No.
Oh my God, it's fantastic. But anyway, Loretta's country. There's no denying that. Patsy Cline covers all genres, and that voice, she's like Judy Garland, and that voice. And Beverly D'Angelo did all her own singing in this film, as did Sissy Spacek, and it is phenomenal.
I've seen Patsy Cline played for rap singers who had never heard her before, and they sat there with their mouths open,
Oh my God.
just astonished.
Yeah,
at what
no,
they
absolutely.
heard.
Absolutely. No,
Just
and this
astonished what they heard.
performance. Sissy Spacek said she didn't realize that Beverly D'Angelo could sing. Like, oh, well, she did do hair, but still, she was surprised.
This role, I'm going to say, is the one that made me the maddest because it was so short. Her role was so memorable. I thought for sure she was half the film. And then when I'm like, wait a minute, that was all we got? I was just amazed. So the next is Levon Helm, who played Ted Webb. And I think it would be easy to say that he just was a cardboard character because he played that role so well. A typical man in that era and that time period that doesn't allow himself to feel, cares and loves for his children, but he just is a hardworking guy who expects discipline. And I felt very real for both him and Phyllis Boyens, who played his wife, Loretta's mother.
Both non-actors. For both of these, their first acting gigs, because Levon Helm is a musician. He's in the band, and he was a friend of Tommy Lee Jones. And Tommy Lee Jones suggested him to Michael Apted for this part. And Michael Apted's like, I don't really see it, because at that time he had a beard and long hair. Then he came on the set, and they give this film its heart. They are so much the center of this film, Loretta's parents, these actors. Phyllis Boyens was a mountain singer. I mean, she's not an actress either. She was and it's one of the reasons why this film is so beautifully authentic. It's because it's got these real people who are not making fun of their characters. They are part of that world. And I think that's what makes it so incredibly touching, these two non-actors playing these parts. He's wonderful as her father. He's so touching when he says goodbye to her, you know, I ain't ever going to see, this last time I'm going to see you, or I ain't ever going to see you again. I can't remember the exact line. And he's so, I don't know how much, when they weigh themselves, that's one of my favorite lines.
Yes.
He's weighing himself, waiting for the train. And he said, I don't know how much he's 135 or something like that. And he goes, I don't know how much of that's me and how much of that's coal dust swallowed. You know, it's so perfect. It's so real.
Yeah, and when he says, I'll never see you again, and she said something like, Daddy, that's not true. And he said, I'll never see my little girl again.
Yeah. God.
She's gone. And that tugged at my heartstrings big time.
Yeah, it's so moving. So yes, an incredible cast of actors and first-time actors bringing this story to life based on the 1976 book by Loretta Lynn called Coal Miner's Daughter. And, you know, Coal Miner's Daughter, it spent 8 weeks on the bestseller chart. And so when they decided they were going to make it a movie, this is kind of the background of this and how Sissy came to this film, because it's a very interesting story. It's very funny. I think it is. So Loretta, when they realized they're going to make it a movie, Loretta liked to go on the talk shows. She was always on Johnny Carson. She's on Dinah Shore show. And what happened was they brought Loretta, Universal, the producers brought Loretta a stack of 8x10s, as they used to be called back in the day, kiddies, of actors. They were basically the actors' publicity photos. Big stack. And she got down to this little strawberry-haired, freckled girl, and she went, that's her. That's the coal miner's daughter. And it was Sissy Spacek. Well, Loretta Lynn didn't bother to go talk to Sissy Spacek about it. She just would start talking about it. She'd be on Johnny Carson. She'd be doing interviews saying, yeah, and Sissy Spacek's going to play me in the movie. And Sissy Spacek heard this, and she's like, wait a minute, what? Come again, huh? But she kept saying it over and over again. So Sissy Spacek, at this point in her career, she had just, she had done Carrie, she'd done Three Women. She did not want to, she wanted to play a more sophisticated adult role. She wasn't sure about this role as the young Appalachian girl, Loretta Lynn, and everything that Loretta, even though she admired the story. So she thought, okay, I'm going to go ahead, because Loretta was still talking about the fact that Sissy Spacek was going to play her. And they did talk to Sissy Spacek about it. And she was torn between these two movies that she wanted to do. Coal Miner's Daughter and another movie, a Nicholas Rigg movie. And so she said, okay, this is what we're going to do. She happened to be near Shreveport where Loretta Lynn was doing a concert. Sissy Spacek and her husband went to go, they arranged a meeting with Loretta Lynn to talk to her and to see what this was. So they said they were very late. The concert was already over, but as they were approaching, they saw the big bus. And as they were approaching the bus, the door opened, and this tiny little woman in a red chiffon gown and big hair came out with this whole coterie of people behind her. And she said the woman had her fist in the air, and she was saying, bam, 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 bam. I heard all through that concert was that dadgum drums in my ear. Bam, 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 bam. Dadgum drums. She said, and Sissy said, I have to play this woman. So the decision was pretty much made right there. And as I said, Sissy met with the first director that didn't work out. He didn't want her, but then they got Michael Apted on board. And Sissy, once she committed to playing Loretta Lynn, she really, have you ever heard these stories? She really immersed herself in the world of Loretta Lynn. And at first, can you believe this? At first, Universal wanted to dub her with the actual Loretta Lynn. Now, maybe we'll touch on Sweet Dreams, the Jessica Lange film version of Patsy Cline's life, where Jessica Lange is dubbed by the real Patsy Cline.
Yes.
I love her in that movie, but should have gone to Beverly D'Angelo. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. And Beverly D'Angelo was asked, if they make the Patsy Cline film, would you want to do it? And she said, yes.
It's just so sad.
I
love Jessica Lange. Don't get me wrong. I love her, but yeah, it should have been Beverly D'Angelo. Sissy said that Loretta said, no, Sissy's got a good enough voice to play her. Just have her work with me for a while. So she did. She not only talked to Loretta and tape recorded stories that Loretta told for hours and hours and hours. Loretta taught her. She went to a hotel with Loretta. I believe it was for 10 days or 2 weeks. And Loretta pinned the lyrics of her songs on lampshades, on walls, on doorways. And Sissy would follow behind Loretta as Loretta would sing the songs, and she would mimic Loretta, and she would mimic the hand gestures and Loretta's movements until finally she became Loretta Lynn. That was it. She said it was so much to the point where her own dog, she hadn't seen her dog for a while, and her dog came to greet her one day, and when she was fully in Loretta Lynn mode, and she talked like Loretta Lynn, and the dog backed up like he didn't know her. He was like, who's that? She immersed herself in this part, and she became Loretta Lynn. Fascinating.
And, Tommy did the same thing, and that's one thing that I didn't remember about this movie at all. This is not a Loretta movie. This is a Loretta and Do movie. It's about them as a couple, which actually is one of the negatives, which I'll get into, was their portrayal. But Tommy Lee Jones was talking about how it was Do that taught him how to drive the tractor. The bulldozer, yeah. And he said spending that time with him, he got to see how does he wear his hat? How does he tug on his shirt? How does he walk? These weren't folks that just said, I'll just play him. They really immersed themselves into these real people. And Do said, asked him, they said, when you watch that, do you see yourself? And they said, yeah, that was all real. That was me.
Amazing.
And that story was me.
He's wonderful. And if people don't know it, Tommy Lee Jones, he was a cum laude graduate from Harvard. Okay, he was not in any way, shape, or form Doolittle Lynn. Now, he was from the South, so there was a certain Southern wildness charm about him. But this man was Al Gore's roommate in college. I mean, this is an academic. Tommy Lee Jones is, and if you ever watch interviews with Tommy Lee Jones, it's obvious. I mean, he's incredibly well spoken and well meant. So the fact that he became this character of Doolittle Lynn and nailed it. is tremendous. It's tremendous, and very sad that he did not get an Oscar nomination. We can talk about that near the end because we've talked about this race before of 1980, and it was a pretty stacked year. So unfortunately, Tommy Lee Jones did not get a nomination, and Loretta Lynn was not happy about that. She was very upset that he didn't because she felt that he captured Doolittle perfectly. And I agree. And he's adorable. He's adorable as Doolittle.
He really is. I mean, the film had 7 nominations, and she was the only actor that had a nomination. Which
doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense. I don't know. I found all the performances in this film extraordinary. But yeah, I mean, you can't deny her. You know, she actually got so good at sounding like Loretta. Loretta took her to the Opry. They went on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry and sung together, and like would trade off verses of songs. And you know, because Loretta also had her study with Owen Bradley, who's a legendary Nashville record producer. He produced Loretta's films. He films Loretta's music. He produced Patsy's music. So these people were not kidding about playing these parts. In fact, they were so immersed in these parts that when they went to initial filming, and the initial parts of this film were filmed, as I said, on location in rural Kentucky, the beginning of it, when they're in Butcher Holler, they blended in so well, they never left their characters. Loretta, see, I just called her Loretta. Sissy was Loretta for the entire time of filming. She said she was afraid to let her go because she was afraid she wouldn't be able to get her back. And the same thing with Tommy Lee Jones as Mooney, as Doolittle. Same thing. And you see that. They're living these parts.
I wonder if they went honky-tonkin'.
Oh, I'm sure they did. Well, I don't know if I don't know. When they were up in those hollers, and for people who don't know, a holler is a way of saying a hollow. Okay? It's a hollow. But if anybody's watched Coal Miner's Daughter, which we hope you have if you're listening to this, it's not a hollow, it's a holler. That's the way it's pronounced.
Well, in North Carolina, we had hollers, and actually, I never saw if this was actually validated, but we were told one of the reasons it was called holler is because you'd holler.
Yeah, true.
To everything. You'd holler to the neighbors, because everything echoed through the ravines and stuff.
That was the only way of communicating, because there was no telephone. There were no telephones up there. There was no electricity up there. One of the things that struck me about this film when I was watching it, and the beautiful cinematography, is how dark, literally, how dark the scenes are, because there was no electricity. And we're talking, this is the 40s. This is, Loretta Lynn. This is like 40, right after World War II is when the story starts. There was no electricity. They lived with gas lights. She studied, one of the lyrics from Coal Miner's Daughter, Mommy read the Bible at night by the coal oil light. So, that coal they were digging out of the Van Leer coal mines where Loretta Lynn's father worked also supplied them with the lights so they could read and function. It's astounding to me to think that's 1947, and this is how proudly these people lived in these very, very remote areas. There were no roads, right? No roads at all. Remember, you never get that thing up that holler. Remember when the Jeep and Doolittle said, I can take this anywhere. You'll never get that up that holler. Yeah.
And that's one thing that I thought was really well done as well. There wasn't an emphasis on how poor they were. It wasn't like, look at them, they're poor. They just were. You could just see the way they lived and the way they acted and the things they had, they were poor. There was no reason to emphasize, hey, we're poor. She obviously sings it in her song. You had the funny little thing where she's next to her old wobbly washing machine and she kicks it, gets up and kicks it and then goes back to what she was doing. There was that. But for the most part, it just like the way they portrayed the people, it just was.
Yes, it's just exactly it. There's no comment on it. This was the way they lived. And there was no reason to expect, as she says, she never thought of leaving Butcher Holler, in the beginning of Coal Miner's Daughter. She never thought of leaving Butcher Holler. Like she says in the song, Coal Miner's Daughter. This was the way they lived, and it's captured so beautifully in this film, the production design, the newspapers on the wall as wallpaper to keep the drafts out of the cabin. That cabin, wow. I mean, it's a way of life that you really feel like you're in it. If you're not familiar with it, it's like you're watching a film from a different planet when you realize that this is 1947. and television was happening in other parts of the world and electronic communication. And these people are living like it's 1847, not 1947. It's very fascinating.
It very much is.
So I think I want to talk a little bit about some of my favorite scenes, and I'm sure you do too. But there's one thing that I want to talk about, which I read, which is kind of like a little myth buster.
Okay.
It's kind of legendary that, and the film emphasizes this, how young Loretta Webb at this time is when she and Mooney get married. You know, her father says, Loretta's getting to be a woman, going on 14. And so you're led to believe that Loretta Lynn was 13 when she married Doolittle Lynn. And Loretta Lynn herself has emphasized this, but it's kind of a self-fabricated myth that she got married at 13. In reality, it was illegal for a child under 15 to get married, even in Kentucky. It was illegal for a child under 15 to get married. However, Loretta Lynn, said 13. Here we are again. When the legend becomes fact, print the legend. And that's what we have here. But that's one of the jarring things about this film when you're first watching it, is realizing how very young she is. And she's going to go get married to this man, ask for her hand in marriage.
To this guy that just got back from the war.
Yes, this little toy soldier. Oh, no toy soldier. I was on Omaha Beach. It's true. But I think that's one of the things that you don't realize until you see it in this film, that she is a child. And when they first get married, she's a child. Okay? She doesn't understand what's going on. I'm almost certain she probably knew about sex because she doesn't seem to be that surprised. But she sure didn't like it when they were first started. She sure didn't understand it. And when she's waiting for him to come home when they're newlyweds and she's like laying on the sofa reading that magazine, she's like a little kid waiting for her dad to come home. Yep. It's a little disturbing in a way, but that's the way it was. That's the way it was.
I love it the morning after when she won't leave the hotel room because people will know what they were doing in there.
I don't want to walk in there and have people know.
You think we're the first ones to figure that out?
The whole world figured that out, Loretta. And then when she gets pregnant, and he says to her, well, maybe we finally found something you can do. And boy, could she.
Yes, she could.
So I think my favorite parts of this movie are the beginning scenes that take place in Kentucky, that were shot in rural Kentucky. And, they had to create that holler and build that cabin because by 1979, when this film was being made, Butcher Holler became too modernized. It did have telephone poles and roads. So they built that cabin on the side of a hill, and they shot those early scenes of the movie first. And, they met a lot of hostility, even though they were being very respectful. They were outsiders. They were trying to be very respectful to the locals in this area. But they did meet with a lot of hostility and some threats from a lot of the native folk there, a lot of the mountain folk, threatened with guns and with violence because they did not know. They wanted to make sure that this film was representing them. They had been burned enough by all of the cliches about backwards Appalachian people. So they were very sensitive. And they try to be very, very sure that they let them know, no, we're being respectful. And having those two non-actors in the cast playing her parents was very helpful to that because they were part of the culture. So I said they filmed in rural Kentucky, and the interior sets, like the interior of the house and the interior of the church, they were built there were no studios there, obviously. So they built them in an old Piggly Wiggly in Hazard, Kentucky. Isn't that great? I love that. I love that early part of the film.
I do too. I have some criticisms of the film, and it's not because of the film itself, but because of the limitation of film. And, I don't like to compare books and films because I've said this a million times. But it does bother me because this is a biopic that so much had to be changed to fit into a film. Mm-hmm. The way that people acted, the relationship between Loretta and Do, and how they both were personality-wise. And one of the things that really disappoints me is it really doesn't get across how poor they were. And like we said earlier, I didn't want it to be like in your face. These people, no, Loretta herself said this. I didn't want it to be like squashed in your face, like I said earlier. But she said it was toned down from the movie. She said, in my book, I really go much deeper into how poor we were. But then people would have just left the movie depressed.
Well, yeah, I guess so. They had to Hollywoodize it a bit, clean it up a bit, but still, it's still pretty. I think to me, it still represents. It's still very representative of what her childhood was like.
Yeah, and definitely not a place I'd want to live, nor would I want to work in one of those old mines.
She said it's hard for her to watch. It was hard. Well, she's passed now. God bless you, Loretta Lynn. She said that it was hard for her to watch the movie in later years, obviously because of Doolittle, because Doolittle was gone, but also because of the fact that it seemed so real. So many of the scenes were real. She said that scene, and it's one of my favorite scenes, the proposal scene, the wedding scene where Doolittle asks Loretta to marry this child. And she goes, you got to, go ask my daddy.
Oh, I love that.
So
scene.
she goes in to ask Ted Webb, and he says, go ask Clara. So he goes and he asks Loretta's mother, and she says, go ask Ted. And they have to go back and forth and back and forth. And Tommy Lee Jones, Doolittle's like, well, I can't be running back and forth all night. She goes, and Sissy Spacek, Loretta says, well, I guess you'll have to wait till they get in bed. That's the only time they're together. And so he comes into them when they're in bed, about to go to sleep, and asks for Loretta's hand in marriage. And he's given it, which, I don't know. I guess they realized that they weren't going to be able to stop these two. They're going to get married, regardless of the fact that Loretta is way underage and really not prepared for marriage. It's a very charming scene, though, the way Tommy Lee Jones plays it. He's so funny in it. And, as I said before, Levon Helm and Phyllis Boyens. Phyllis Boyens is laying in that bed holding the baby, and you can see one tear rolling down her cheek when this is happening because she knows everything's about to change. Her oldest daughter's leaving. And it's so beautiful. And it's so simple. So simple. It's a beautiful scene. That's a beautiful scene.
Yep. So I want to get on my favorite scene. Probably my favorite scene. The radio station. They pull up at KCBL, I think is the name of where the colors for the radio station, to talk to the guy. She said, I sent you my stills and I sent you the music. And he goes, yeah, it went nowhere. We played it. It just dropped dead.
Yeah. And
she looks down and the letter or the envelope is sitting there unopened. And she goes off on him.
So great.
Why did you lie? Blah, blah, blah. And it just was.
I can't believe it. I can't believe a person could be so dadgum mean. It's just so. I can't believe it. And she goes on and on. It's such a great scene.
It wasn't because it didn't do well, but because he lied about it not doing well.
Yes, that's it exactly. I can't believe it.
I got babies that
I left my babies with my mama. Doolittle, he doesn't get any sleep. I mean, she just goes on and on and on. It shows, first of all, how brilliant Sissy Spacek is, but how funny Loretta Lynn just was naturally, which I think is another thing that Spacek captures so beautifully, is the fact that Loretta Lynn was a very funny woman, just naturally. A great sense of humor. Just listen to some of her songs. You're the Reason Our Kids Are Ugly, one of my favorite songs of hers. Yeah. I mean, come on. They're fun. You don't want to go to Fist City. I love Fist City. And this is Loretta's humor. And you want to keep that arm. You better get it off my man. That's one of my favorite scenes is when... Yes. So Loretta's starting to... I guess we should say... the synopsis of this, and I think everybody pretty much knows. It's a rags to riches story. Loretta Lynn starts out poor. Doolittle buys her a guitar because I like the way you sang, and she starts playing it, and she's really good. She writes a song, Honky Tonk Girl, and she goes and sings it at a honky tonk, and that's where her career starts. And her career starts taking off, and they start traveling, start sending out records to radio stations, as Brad said, and she begins to build a name for herself. And then they get to Nashville, and she gets on the Grand Ole Opry. And then she meets Patsy Cline, played by the brilliant Beverly D'Angelo. And one of my favorite scenes is when they're performing together, because Patsy and Loretta did do some tour. Patsy was helping Loretta out. So she appeared in her show, and Sissy Spacek and Beverly D'Angelo do some wonderful duets, Back in Baby's Arms. It's so delightful. And Doolittle's nowhere to be found because by this point, Doolittle is feeling like a third wheel. He's not... He was the driving force behind getting this career started, but now Loretta's getting too big for him to really do anything. And she's coming under the wing of the Nashville machine. So he's getting pissed off, and he ends up in a car with I don't know who you are, but I know what you are, with a woman of ill repute. And Loretta's looking for him, and she opens the door, and there he is in a car seat with this woman, and she goes, I don't know who you are, but I know what you are. Woman, if you want to keep that arm, you better get it off my man. And then the scene cuts to the next scene. They're on the bus driving, and Loretta is playing the lyrics to a new song she's written, called You Ain't Woman Enough to Take My Man. And Doolittle says, where'd you get the idea for that? And she goes, where you think? And she kicks him. She's so spicy. She's so spunky. That's what you love about this character. She's just so much fun and so full of life. Love that.
And Loretta said she sat down with Doolittle. In fact, this was Doolittle that was saying this because he's not shown in a very good light in this film, which is one of my issues.
You think so? I think he's shown... I think he's very softened for this film. Very softened.
I think he's shown in a horrible light, and it's never resolved. He's shown in a true light, but not an entirely true light. Based on all the interviews that I saw, including with the children. So,
well, in what way?
Loretta said,
explain that. In what way?
Okay,
you think it's a harsher treatment than?
He was portrayed as a drunkard. He was portrayed as a womanizer, having affairs. All of that is true. He was also violent. Mm-hmm. Loretta was also violent. She was cantankerous. She said, and apparently it's better in the book, is they softened her and they hardened Do.
Really?
Because they didn't show her rough and tumble side, and they didn't show that Do had a softer side. And that's the same thing the children said. They were like, he was a tough guy. He was a harsh disciplinarian. He was no nonsense. But he also deeply loved our mother, which they showed. But they said that there were long periods where these two just really had what we would, for lack of a better term, a normal relationship, what we would see, with these horrible, dysfunctional things interspersed throughout, where she felt she was, I hate when choose sides, she was just as bad as he was the way he was portrayed in this film. She said, I would hit him hard, but it was shown that he was always the one that, now you didn't see it this way. I did. I sat there and I'm like, he's just an awful person. And the way they felt like they softened in their later years, which is in the book, but the movie cuts off earlier. So you don't see where they do soften up and live more a more romantic lifestyle, spending time together. So that is one of the challenges that I wish there was a way. It almost would be better as a miniseries.
Yeah, well, any biopic.
Any book is.
A life is much longer than 2.5 hours. But no, I feel it's different about him. I think he shows there are scenes of such a great affection between the two of them. You see the love he has for his children, the way he takes care of his children after he leaves the road and runs the ranch, the way he is with the twins, with Peggy and Patsy. When am I ever going to be able to tell you two apart? Never. I think he's very tender. I think there are certainly moments where he is. I mean, he's Doolittle Lynn. He's a mountain man. Yeah, he's got some harshness. But I don't know. I disagree with you on that. I think Tommy Lee Jones gives him such a charm, and I do think there's moments of real affection between them. How about when she has her breakdown on the stage and she calls out for Do. I think that's. These two people were so much a part of each other because she'd been with him since she was, air quotes, 13. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
They were so much a part of each other's lives and such an integral part. They were like another limb. And I think that's shown in the movie. And I think I don't know. I don't think he's harsher in the movie. I don't. I think they actually softened him. I gotta say.
I would like to see more what their real relationship was, the back and forth between them, the soft moments and the harsher moments that both were involved in. But again, it's a 2-hour movie. You know, first of all, I do want to say that I started to get to it and then I got distracted talking about the film. Doolittle said that when she was writing this autobiography, she said, "How true should I be?" Because not many men want to be written that they were alcoholics and
no, of course not,
or drunks. They were drunks and having affairs. And he said, if you're going to do an autobiography, you got to tell the truth. So kudos to him. Kudos to him.
Kudos to him. Kudos to him. Well, I think that, and well, another reason that there's a problem. The problem I have with this film, and it's not a huge problem. The film has what they call in the theater second act problems, because the first act is all about her rise, all about the struggle, all about the excitement of becoming the first lady of country music. And then what? So that's the thing. The movie has a problem with, okay, now what's the climax going to be? Okay, so she's a star now. They're still married. They're still living. This is a big problem too. Loretta Lynn and Doolittle Lynn were still alive. We're still very vibrant, still very active in the community. What are they going to do to finish off this movie? There's no big climax. So they make the climax of the film kind of be her breakdown on stage that she has because she's been touring so much. And when she goes, "Do," and she faints. But it's not much of a climax. She goes home, she rests for a couple of years, and then they're going to build the house with the bedroom in the front because she can pull down a dadgum window blind, and that's the end of it. You know, it doesn't really have. I don't want to say it goes nowhere, but there's really nowhere for it to go after she's become a star.
I think there's a lot of places they could have gone with that, and I think that they did fail in that. I think they were they trying to put too much into it? You know, her whole collapse and exhaustion happened far after it did in the film. It happened in the 70s. And one thing I really liked is that whole monologue she does, or the speech she gives to the audience about how tough it's been before she finally has to be carried away. She never said that.
Yeah, well, yeah, I kind of.
And Loretta said it was really well done because it emotionally it hit the target. And she said there was no other way to have shown that. So it's not a negative to me that wasn't in there. I just felt like that was one of the highlights, that they found a way to bring out those emotions and make us feel. I don't think they carried that through as well, like you're saying. I don't think they carried it through. There's a lot of ways they could have gone. I'm sure there was a lot of adapting. Okay, I grew up this coal miner's daughter, and now I have a mansion. What was the process between all of that? There had to be more than just picking out where the bedrooms are going to go. I think there could have been different ways. And all those kids
she had, all those kids she was having. Oh, I hope it ain't twins again. Well, so the screenplay, which I love the screenplay. It's a brilliant screenplay by Tom Rickman, which really captures the language of that area. I think he did the best job he could with a story that was still continuing. That's the problem. It's not like Sweet Dreams, where we know the climax of Sweet Dreams is, surprise, Patsy Cline dies. We know that. Buddy Holly story. We know the climax of the Buddy Holly story is Buddy Holly dies. Loretta Lynn didn't die. She was still alive. So they had to kind of fabricate this climax of her breakdown, but it wasn't like at the end of The Rose when Bette Midler has her breakdown. Loretta Lynn just needs some time to recover, and she's back on the road. I don't know. It feels like a manufactured climax to me, but it's the best manufactured climax they could create, in my opinion. It still works. I'm not selling it at all. It's the best they could do with the obstacles they were in front of them.
I agree, and I don't want to criticize the screenplay because I think it's incredible, and it is taught as one of the best biopics ever made because it is very real, and it wasn't polished for the public to say this is what it was. But it shows the struggle of taking a person's life and putting it into a 2-hour movie. So that's where my criticism comes. It's in the actual animal. It's almost impossible to do.
Yeah, it is.
And it seems like it would be better to just say, okay, we're going to focus on these years only, and we're going to stick with those years.
Well, yes.
Because when you try to put the whole life into a 2-hour film, it's too much. It's too much.
It is. No, it is. And, the most successful biopics focus on a certain event in someone's life. You look at Capote, a perfect example. That period of time when he was writing In Cold Blood. You don't have the entire career of Truman Capote. Well, unfortunately, you really couldn't do that with Loretta Lynn. You had to, because the event was her coming from the backwoods of Kentucky to becoming the first lady of country music. And I guess you could have ended it with her at the Grand Ole Opry. I don't know. I think that there had to be some drama, and it just feels a little... It doesn't feel forced. It feels manufactured to me. And I say that hesitantly because I still think this is a brilliant, brilliant film. I think it
is perfectly okay to critique a film no matter how beautiful it is, Tony.
You should know.
I always want to make that clear. Just because I do my critiques does not mean I don't think it's brilliant. I love this film.
I don't know who the hell the film historian is here and who the ordinary guy is because I love this movie. You're always like, well, I see issues.
I'm going to use Freddie Mercury's film. I can't remember the name of the movie, but
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay. That is another film that I think covered way too much from the beginning. Somebody that was unknown to Freddie, and there were a lot of liberties taken in that film. Mm-hmm. And most of it is to try and make it all fit into a 2-hour film. You're always going to take multiple characters and make them fit into one, or you're going to make multiple situations that really occurred and squeeze them together. But when it starts having to do too many to make it all fit, that is where I get a little sad. And that's where I'm saying I think it's better just to, we just agreed on, find a snippet in life and focus on that.
Yes. But what's wonderful about the way Coal Miner's Daughter is structured is that you do get that story of the struggle. You do see how incredibly poor they were and how incredibly colorful their lives are. And it is exciting to watch her slowly ascend. And the most important thing is the chemistry between Tommy Lee and Sissy. It's just such fantastic. They're so wonderful together. It's clear that these two people really, really, and I'm talking about the actors here, not the characters. These two actors really loved playing together and really respected each other and really fed off each other. That's what gives this film its magic. The magic is in the music. Seeing Sissy Spacek just nail these wonderful Loretta Lynn songs, and the chemistry and the story of these two people together, I think is what makes this movie so wonderful.
I agree totally. No argument from me.
So obviously we're going to get into the Oscars of 1980 because this is our best actress. But before we do that, Brad, why don't you tell us how this movie performed when it was released?
This movie did very well. It was a big year. We've discussed this year before. 1980, the number one film, nobody could even come close, was The Empire Strikes Back. Mm-hmm. The next film, the beloved 9 to 5, made half as much money as The Empire Strikes Back. So that kind of tells you what kind of year it was. And then we had Stir Crazy. Is that with Gene Wilder?
Yeah.
Okay, that was forgettable. Airplane, a biggie.
The year of Airplane.
Yep, Any Which Way You Can, another one that should be forgotten. Private Benjamin. And then number 7 was Coal Miner's Daughter. And to round those off, we had Smoking the Bandit 2, The Blue Lagoon, and then Blues Brothers. I didn't realize The Blue Lagoon ever made it to top 10.
Oh, yeah, that was huge.
I guess it was to see Christopher Atkins naked. But
it was huge.
Yeah, he was a big crush of mine back then. But yeah, it was made for, it grossed $67 million, and it was made for about $15 million. So not a shabby. Sounds like a good investment, if you ask me.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think the studio did pretty well.
They did. And Loretta Lynn became even bigger because, as I said, just like with me, this movie exposed her to the widest audience possible. And, I mean, she carried it with her till the end of her life, God bless her. I mean, she was truly, truly a force.
So let's pause here for a moment because I, as always, have a few things to say.
Yes.
We have been getting a lot of great feedback, which we will share. We're not going to do it every episode, but we will share it soon. We have been getting some great feedback from people. I don't know, Tony. Do we want to ask people to continue sending us ideas? Because we're getting flooded with ideas.
I told you 2 episodes ago, we are filling up fast. So if you have suggestions, Get them in fast. Get them in
We
fast.
are. I don't know. We may end up having to draw some of these from a hat, and they're all good. That's the problem. I wish people were sending us ones that suck, and we could just say no. But unfortunately, we have a smart audience, and that hasn't been happening. But yeah, please, if you have some suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. You can offer suggestions of any kind, and you can do that in the show notes. It says text or leave a voicemail. Click on that button. You can send us a text, and we'll respond. Or you can leave a voicemail, and we'll play it here on the show. We would also really, really, really love it if you could rate and review this podcast. Whatever app you're looking on, you can look right now, and it'll tell you, rate or review. Click that and tell people that you like us. So hopefully they'll look at it and say, gee, maybe I'll like it too.
Yeah, you ain't too dadgum ignorant to do that, are you? I don't think so. All right, so this is indeed, since this is our Best Actress series, we're going to go over the Oscars of 1980. Now, as Brad said, we talked about these before. We talked about them when we talked about another wonderful actress this year.
Who was that? I don't know who you're talking about.
Who was that? Named Mary Tyler Moore. Yes, this was the year of Ordinary People.
Okay, we're going to have to start adding Mary moments.
Me too. That's good. So in addition to Mary Tyler Moore in Ordinary People, the other Best Actress nominees were Goldie Hawn in Private Benjamin, Gina Rowlands in Gloria, Ellen Burstyn in Resurrection, and Sissy Spacek in Coal Miner's Daughter. Now, this was...
Who won, Tony?
Shut up. Now, this was probably one of the most competitive years for Best Actress ever. Every single one of these performances is a career-topping performance, a career-defining performance. I love Goldie Hawn in Private Benjamin. She has never, ever, ever been better than a Private Benjamin. Ellen Burstyn in Resurrection, genius performance. And come on, Gina Rowlands is a career capper in Gloria. So this was so stacked. And as we said before during Ordinary People, it just breaks my heart that Mary was nominated this year because any one of these actresses could have won an Academy Award in a different year. They're all that good. However, Sissy won everything. Everything. She won the New York Film Critics. She won the Los Angeles Film Critics. She won a Golden Globe. Mary won the Golden Globe for a drama, though. I want to point that out. Sissy won the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy. So Mary did get something. Everything. Because, yes, Sissy, as we said at the beginning, Sissy doesn't just act Loretta Lynn, she becomes Loretta Lynn. There's just no denying that in this performance. It's one of the greatest film performances I think I've ever seen, in the fact that it's not a performance, she's just being.
Yeah. Yep. So I have a question. I'm going to go to Private Benjamin only for a minute because I adored Goldie Hawn and I absolutely loved her in that film, but I need to ask the film historian because it's on my mind. It's going to drive me crazy. Have to wait.
Yeah.
Eileen Brennan, was she nominated
Yes.
Best Supporting?
Yes. For her brilliant.
Okay, she was wonderful.
So Sissy won. As we said before, Tommy Lee Jones wasn't even nominated, which is a crime, but again, a very, very stacked year. We talked about it during our Ordinary People episode. Donald Sutherland was also not nominated that year because there were so many incredible Best Actor performances that there just wasn't room for these two wonderful performances. So that's sad. But as Brad said, Coal Miner's Daughter was a huge hit. It was a tremendous hit. And it fed the myth of Loretta Lynn, of the Coal Miner's Daughter. Now, I've been to, big surprise, I've been to Hurricane Mills, Loretta Lynn's estate. Have you ever been over there, Brad?
No, I have not.
Well, I made sure I got my butt to the Loretta Lynn Museum, and it has
just for this show. I'm certain of that.
Just for this show, I'm going to go there later after this. I'm in West Virginia.
Yeah,
and no, it's quite a ways away from here. But so all the memorabilia from the movie is there. The coal miner's there. I've been inside the coal miner, the bus. I sat in the coal miner. It was so cool. They reconstructed the cabin on the property. You can go into the cabin and see it. There, all of the dresses that Sissy Spacek wore, all of the dresses Loretta Lynn wore, they're all there. It's fascinating. The Loretta Lynn Museum. If you want to go a day trip and you're in Kentucky, I'd say go for it. But my favorite thing in that whole museum was in the men's room. And shut up, Brad. Let me finish. My favorite thing.
Okay, we're gonna have to definitely put a rating on this one.
My favorite thing in that bathroom was a sign above the urinal which said, "Please do not spit in the urinal. Love, Loretta." Oh, God, that's Loretta Lynn for you. That's Loretta Lynn for you.
And if you're not from the South, that's because you don't want all that brown chaw in the
You
bottom
want
of the...
that chaw. Please don't spit in the urinal. Well, Brad, I guess, is there anything else you want to say about Coal Miner's Daughter and about this incredible performance, this incredible Best Actress performance of Sissy Spacek?
No, I think we've said it all. Just my usual, if you haven't watched it in a while, go back and watch it. It was a delight.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a treat. Well, then I think there's only one thing left to say, because I'm getting a horny and I got to go spread me up one of them bologna sandwiches. So let's not say
Well,
goodbye.
don't say that on the air. We're going to lose our FCC license.
I thought horny meant cutting up, acting silly. Let's not say goodbye. Let's say au revoir.
No, let's say goodbye.
A big old bar growling. Goodbye, everybody.
That's all, folks.